Bienvenue. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta. This includes Siksika, Piikani, Kainai, collectively known as the Blackfoot Confederacy. The Yitchka, Nakota, Wichissabi First Nations comprise of the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney bands, and the Tsuut'ina First Nation. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation within Alberta Districts 6 and 7. Welcome to Calgary, and of course I can't say that without saying welcome to the Stampede, and to the Canadian Sport Institute, Alberta. My name is Catriona Le May Doan, and I'm joining you today as President and CEO of Sport Calgary, and also as a proud Canadian athlete. I would like to start with introducing someone who is no stranger to sport in Calgary, Member of Parliament for Calgary Skyview, George Chahal.
Thank you, Catriona, for the kind introduction. I'm George Chahal, Member of Parliament for Calgary Skyview, and an avid sporting participant and viewer. Okay, even more. I'm a huge sports nut. I believe that sports are part of the fabric of our society. They bring us together in victory and defeat. We celebrate together and we mourn a little too. The ministers gathered today will make announcements about the specifics of programs designed to help Canadian athletes. These are good announcements. In fact, they are great announcements. I won't echo their comments, but I will tell you a story of an athlete who trains here every day. He starts his day by eating more than an average hippo eats in a week. This is to build muscle, his muscle mass, and protect his body from the workouts he will endure and calories spent. He lifts every day, he trains every day, and he travels the world for his sport on his own dime. He works when he can, often double shifts, so he can make enough money to pay for travel, food, rent, and gear. And it's his life that will be made better by the announcements made here today. He may win a medal at some point. He may not. But that will not be his primary contribution to Canada. His contribution is his dedication, his devotion to sport. Sport unites us. It lifts us up. Thanks to each and every athlete that is training here today.
Thank you so much, and yes, there are many athletes, especially in this city, and many athletes joining us today and also training here at CSIA. You know, as we celebrated Canada Day a few days ago, I was looking at social media and I was reading the stories and the posts about how proud athletes are, whether they're, whether they have represented or whether they are representing Canada. And it was just fascinating to just listen to how proud they are. And for myself, 17 years on the national team, 4 Olympic Games, I was so proud to wear the maple leaf. Faire partie de l'équipe canadienne, de représenter le Canada, c'était vraiment les moments de grande fierté dans ma carrière. And what I love is that, as I'm mentioning, that many of us are not from Calgary, but sport has brought us together and has brought us together here in Calgary. And with the support of many organizations like CSIA, WinSport, the Olympic Oval, we continue to be champions for sport. We continue to be supporters for the next generation of Olympians, Paralympians, and national team athletes. And I've been blessed to witness sport from the grassroots to the high performance, whether it's my work with Sport Calgary, whether it's the role of Vice Chair of Canada Games, whether it was being Chef de Mission in Beijing of 2022. But the power of sport is evidence, and the positive impact that it has not just in our communities, but on our country is like no other. C'est pour ça que je suis très fière de faire partie de cet annoncement aujourd'hui. I would like to thank CSIA for having us today, and it's great to be here with Minister Anand, Minister Boissonnault, Minister Qualtrough to talk about Budget 2024's investment in sport and about what these investments are going to do for Canadian athletes at every level. And it's exciting to be talking about sport. I know that just this morning at MMP Community Centre, some of the athletes going to Paris were just coming out of the pool. We have speed skating athletes who are right here training right now. And with the Olympics and Paralympics just weeks away, we have exciting moments. Now they're exciting, and I look to the athletes that are sitting right in front of me, they're stressful as well. Because as soon as you get into those big moments, we understand that those moments are tough. But in order to have those moments, it takes hard work, it takes commitment, it takes pursuit of excellence. And in order to have those moments, we need the support of a big team behind us. So we're here to talk about that support that Budget 2024 and the federal government are making to sport in Canada. So to tell us more about that, I would like to welcome to the podium a huge supporter of sport, a supporter of inclusion, Canada's Minister of Sport and Physical Activity, Paralympian, champion for sport, the Honourable Carla Qualtrough.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks so much for having us here today. Je remercie l'Institut canadien du sport d'Alberta de nous accueillir aujourd'hui et de tout le travail qu'il entreprend pour le sport au Canada. Thank you to the Canadian Sport Institute Alberta for hosting us here today and for all the work you do for sport in Canada. As an athlete, as Catriona said, as a Paralympian, I can speak firsthand to the good that sport can do. Sport empowers individuals and communities. It breaks down barriers. It creates positive change. Sport certainly changed my life, and I am where I am and who I am because of sport, and I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for sport. As Minister of Sport and Physical Activity, my goal is to ensure that everyone in Canada has the opportunity to experience sport that is safe, welcoming, and inclusive. I'm squarely focused on a new vision for sport in Canada with a sport system that looks like Canada. A system that invests in athletes and organizations who are working hard to represent Canada internationally, and invests in grassroots organizations that enable more Canadians to participate in sport and live more active lives. This is an approach to sport that inspires all Canadians to dream big, to get active, and to have fun. Today, I'm pleased to be talking about how our Budget 2024 invests in athletes. The Government of Canada's Athlete Assistance Program provides a monthly direct payment to over 1,800 high-performance athletes as they train and compete to represent Canada on the world stage. These are athletes who are committed to chasing excellence even as the demands of their sport, their profession, and the cost of living increase. Comme beaucoup de Canadiens et Canadiennes, les athlètes travaillent sans relâche pour rester à flot. Nous avons entendu les athlètes lorsqu'ils ont partagé leurs défis. That's why Budget 2024 is investing $35 million over 5 years and $7 million a year ongoing to support Canada's carded athletes. This is nearly a 25% increase in the program. I think we need to clap for that. That's fantastic. Athletes have been working so hard and for advocating for this for so long, so I'm very grateful to that relentless pursuit of this dream. This is direct financial support that Canada's carded athletes rely on. It's a permanent increase to this program. It means athletes will get more money per month and more athletes will have access to this financial support. By investing directly in athletes, we are empowering them to focus on doing their best. For some young people, these athletes are role models who can embody core values of hard work and resilience. And our government is so proud to invest in them, and we continue to be inspired by you. To break down barriers and create sport experiences for everyone, Budget 2024 also invests $15 million over 2 years in the Community Sport for All initiative. With this investment, more Canadians will be able to participate and play in their communities. Sport can do tremendous good for individuals and communities. But we also know that without sufficient and appropriate safeguards, sport can also cause harm. That's why Budget 2024 is investing an additional $16 million over 2 years in projects to support safe sport, to support inclusive sport, and to support athletes' mental health. This complements the Future of Sport in Canada Commission, which was recently launched to conduct a broad and substantive review of the Canadian sports system and make recommendations. Au total, au cours des 2 prochaines années, le budget 2024 investit plus de 55 millions de dollars dans notre mission de construire un système sportif canadien plus sécuritaire, plus inclusif et plus accueillant. By investing in sport, we're investing in tools and programming that help build stronger, more vibrant, and more active communities. There is no question that these are tough times for many Canadians. Many are stressed and struggling. Many feel disconnected and without community. Sport can't solve every problem, but I would suggest that in times like these, Canadians need sport, perhaps more than ever. And while the Canadian sports system is definitely a work in progress, Budget 2024 provides the means to make real progress on building the sports system that Canadians deserve. There is still work to be done, but it's important to remember the good that sport is doing. Think of the upcoming Olympic and Paralympic Games as another opportunity for sport to unite and inspire us all. This summer, we'll come together, over 40 million of us, to celebrate and cheer on Team Canada. Along the way, our athletes will inspire viewers, especially our kids, to see the possibility of sport. By supporting our athletes in Budget 2024, we're helping to inspire the next generation to get active and dream big. And of course, we have the upcoming FIFA World Cup here in Canada in 2026. From our Paralympic and Olympic athletes preparing for Paris, to our kids picking up a soccer ball for the first time, to our seniors staying active through pickleball. Every day, in every corner of this country, sport is serving Canadians. It's helping us to lead more active and vibrant lives. It's creating opportunities for us to connect. And this is the good that sport can do. Every Canadian deserves to experience the good that sport has to offer. And together, we're building the sport system that can do that for everyone. That's the sport I want for my kids and yours. So thank you. I'm passing it on to Minister Anand.
Good transition.
Okay, hi everybody. Bonjour tout le monde. You know, we all like to think we're good athletes. I know that I like to think that way, but the truth is that unlike the previous 2 women, I am not an athlete of that caliber. I'd like to thank them, though, for their words, and George as well. It's great to see you, Randy, and welcome all of you here to the stage. I also come from the university life. I was a university professor for 25 years before getting into politics. So coming back to the University of Calgary is amazing. And I'd like to thank the University of Calgary for their work in supporting athletes and academics and the excellence that this university exemplifies. So let me just say that our government, as you've heard from Carla, is determined to continue to invest in sport and in athletes. And by doing so, we exemplify the priority that we are placing on investment in sport. Et nous bâtissons un Canada qui bénéficie à tous, peu importe le lieu ni la date de leur naissance. Comme l'a mentionné Carla, les Canadiens de tout le pays se préparent à encourager nos athlètes cet été aux Jeux olympiques et paralympiques. And with those games fast approaching, we're reminded that sport brings us all together. Sport helps us build strong communities. Sport helps us support families. That's why we're breaking down barriers that have historically prevented many communities from having opportunities to learn and to participate and to reach their full potential in sport. And we're stepping up to meet athletes where they are, to empower them to focus on what matters, pursuing their very best. And by doing that, as I mentioned to Catriona before this, we show our youth that it is possible to succeed in athletics and athletic roles here in this country. And I can't thank you as athletes enough for the example that you show to our youth every single day. Your determination, your grit, your participation, your cooperation is an example for Canadian children and youth alike. And as parents, I know we're all so grateful for the work that you do representing our country. Can we give athletes around the table a hand, please? So today we're announcing a $15 million investment in the Community Sport for All initiative. And the initiative supports national sport organizations in establishing more accessible and locally organized sport programs aimed at reducing barriers to participation. And through this initiative, we're going to help break down barriers so sport programming is more effective, it's more pervasive, it's more affordable for communities across Calgary and in fact right across this country. Tous les Canadiens méritent de voir leur avenir dans le sport et cet investissement est une étape importante pour qu'ils puissent le faire. Et maintenant, je passe la parole au ministre Boissonnault. Mais merci beaucoup d'être ici avec nous aujourd'hui. And thank you again for the example that you set for our country.
Well, thanks very much, Anita. Bonjour tout le monde. Oki, Catriona, thank you for being such a phenomenal MC. I don't want to say that I was a kid watching you do all your work because, you know, I lost my hair and you kept yours. But the inspiration that you gave to generations of Canadians, of Albertans, continues to pay dividends. So thank you for your leadership and for your continued commitment to sport. Carla, it's an honor to serve in cabinet with you. You are a fierce defender of not just sporty people, but everybody who wants to see themselves in amateur or professional or Olympic or Paralympic sport. So thank you, my friend. George, look at you in that fabulous jersey. You train here. Your family trains in this area. It's a pleasure to be on the podium with you. Anita, quel plaisir d'être ici avec vous. And Cynthia, I'm going to introduce you at the end, and I hope everybody's ready for your story. So, friends, whether it's Canada's amazing appearance in Copa America, or whether it's the fact that we got to Game 7, didn't quite get it done. My heart hurts a little bit to talk about sport right now, but the Oilers team will mostly stay together, thank you. Will mostly stay together. I'm very hopeful for 25. And look, I'm gonna go way off script, and the team's like, uh-oh, what else is new? But I'm gonna say this first. At the core, sport is about people. I want to thank all the athletes here, all the trainers here. Investing in sport means investing in people. It means investing in communities. It means investing in the future of our province, in our country. And here in Alberta, the proof of those returns, the proof of that investment is evident everywhere you look. I am not old enough to remember the Commonwealth Games in '78, but I know that the Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton is there because of those games. And so is the early part of our LRT system. Our light rapid train system existed because the world was coming to Edmonton. I was a volunteer for the IAAF track and field games in Edmonton. I was part of the World Masters Games Board. Vancouver 2010, not only was I a volunteer, Carla, but I remember on public transport getting to a TV so I could see Sid the Kid's golden goal and watch us take gold. And my friends, we're going to host the world, as Carla said, when we bring FIFA here. But now here's where I'm going to go off script. I was a really heavy kid growing up, and my face was so big, even the uncles would pinch my cheeks, not just the aunties or the grandmas. And I discovered sport at university. I played recreational hockey 3 or 4 games. I did sport at Oxford, and I got 2 goals. 2 points. One against the U.S. Air Force, and an assist against Cambridge. That's it. I got 2 points in my whole hockey career. But later in life, I started doing half marathons because I didn't want to keep the weight on. And then a friend of mine said, come and watch us do the Ironman. So I went and I watched them in Penticton. I thought they were stark raving mad. And before I left Penticton, I signed up for the 2007 Ironman. I didn't have a bike. I didn't know how to swim. I'd never done more than a half marathon. But you know what happened? I found coaches. I found a community. I found a group of people who would believe in me just the same way that one of the athletes here has a team around them that believed in them. And when I got in that water on August 26, 2007, I did not know if I would finish the race. I did not know if I would get the medal, but it didn't matter because I had changed my self-concept, and by being in that water, ready to start the swim, I had become an athlete. And that's what you give to Canadians, that's what you give to Albertans each and every day. Turns out, listening to my body, at 10:10 that night. We started at 7 in the morning. 15 hours, 15 minutes later, I crossed the finish line with my mom and my dad in my hands. And I can tell you, Anita, Carla, George, Catriona, Cynthia, that day changed my life. And I ran for politics because of that, because I said to myself, if I could finish the Ironman, I could certainly take on Parliament. So thank you for what you are all doing to make kids and families believe in themselves, because you are making a great difference. Now, the next time you're driving up the Deerfoot at 110 kilometers an hour, I want you to add 10 more kilometers and put yourself right at the level of the ground. And that is what Cynthia Appiah does as the pilot of a bobsled, whether she's doing mono, whether she's doing with the 2-person or the 4-person. Imagine the G-force. Imagine what she has to do to steer that bobsleigh. She's here to talk to us as the athlete rep. Put your hands together for Cynthia Appiah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming here. As Randy said, my name is Cynthia Appiah. I'm a member of the Canadian bobsleigh team. We're here at CSI Alberta, which is a phenomenal facility. And as Catriona mentioned in her opening remarks, a lot of the athletes that train in this building aren't from Calgary, but sport brings us here, often on our own dime. That's the dedication that athletes have. They believe in themselves. They have a family and a support system that believes in themselves to be able to achieve whatever sport can bring for them to achieve. So this increase in AAP funding, also known as carding amongst the athletes, is vital. I believe the funding hasn't changed in about 7-8 years. So having that increase it can be the difference between being able to go to that last competition that will help you qualify for the Olympics, Paralympics, or Commonwealth Games and not. So I do want to thank Minister Qualtrough for listening to the athletes. This has been a long haul, a long conversation that we've been having to increase the carding that athletes have, that direct to athlete funding. But I do believe that this is just the first stop in an ongoing conversation in supporting athletes across Canada. Right now, we're in a bit of a flux, and the sports system is struggling to be able to maintain and continue the high level of success that this country expects us to get when we go to these high-level competitions. I believe that as a community, and I believe that as athletes, as coaches, as family members, as support, we can all work together to bring forth a new Canadian identity when it comes to high-performance sport. We need a new investment in infrastructure, a new investment in what the Canadian sport identity is. My biggest fear is that, in 10, 20 years down the line, that we might not have these great facilities anymore. And athletes will have to move out of Canada to be able to showcase what they have as Canadian athletes. I don't think any athlete should be forced to move outside of Canada to represent the Maple Leaf, which we feel is one of the biggest honors to be able to have. Sitting as a member of the COC Athletes Commission and working with Minister Qualtrough's predecessor, we've created an avenue for athletes to feel safe in sport, channels that allow them to anonymously bring complaints, and I definitely thank your predecessor for that. And hopefully with your support and with your continued work, we can continue to advocate for athletes, to advocate for more funding within the sports system for athletes, and create a bigger and better Canadian sports system. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia, and thank you to everybody for your remarks. Thank you, Minister Qualtrough, for the announcement. I'm just going to say I have to consider, maybe I'm coming out of retirement now, but not really. But Randy, you talked about it being an entire community, and this money right now for the carding, as Cynthia said, that's what it's called, is a support for athletes right now, for high-performance athletes. But when we talk about the community level, that's where everybody starts, and that's what's amazing about being in a city like this. And it's every province and every territory across this country. We have youngsters who will watch the Olympics and Paralympics that are coming up and who are going to be inspired. And we start at grassroots, and regardless if we get to the high performance level, and regardless of the results we get at the high performance level, we come back to grassroots, because we want Canadians to stay involved in sport for life. And so that commitment to to community sport, that's what we need to do, and continue to make it safe. And so there's a lot of work to be done. And Cynthia, thank you for talking infrastructure, because we are constantly having those talks. And no, athletes are not going to leave Canada. Athletes will continue to come here because we are the best in the world and we have the best facilities in the world. So thank you to everybody for your comments. Thank you for your commitment to sport. Thank you for the athletes for what you are doing and continue to do. And we are now going to open it up for questions. And we do have everybody available, and I will turn it over to Cindy, who's going to moderate the questions. So thank you everybody for joining. Merci beaucoup, et merci pour vraiment la passion pour le sport, pour le Canada.
Okay. Hello everyone, bonjour tout le monde. We will now begin with the questions in the room. Please state your name and media outlet and whom your question is directed to. You will have the opportunity to ask one question with one follow-up.
Hi, Donna Spencer from Canadian Press. Minister Qualtrough, the Canadian Olympic Committee and Canadian Paralympic Committee this spring had asked for a $104 million infusion into the sports system, saying that NSOs were, I believe the words were, on the brink of crisis. And while money was supplied in budget 2024 for other things, that money was not there. I guess what would you say to COC or CPC or NSOs on what sort of help they can expect going forward?
Thanks, Donna. Really important question. So absolutely, this $55 million over 2 years is a first investment in the renewal of sport in this country. Certainly not enough, and certainly won't fill all the gaps that you've heard have been mentioned today, including what the COC is advocating for in terms of leveling up the organizational capacity of national sport organizations. Those conversations are ongoing. I would expect in the future, as we continue to get our own house in order at the Government of Canada and across the sports system, that I'm extremely hopeful that we'll continue to make significant investments in the sports system.
Yeah, last week I asked our caucus chair to get caucus members together. I know it was a busy weekend for everybody, and with the long weekend in Canada Day, so, but I think it's important as we talk about sport today. We have lots of ups and downs, and you win some and you lose some, but you come together at the locker room and figure out a game plan moving forward. And so I just had expressed that I thought it was a good idea to bring our colleagues together and have that conversation. Sorry, could you repeat that? I support our leader, and I will be running again under the Prime Minister and under our Liberal Party of Canada.
Last call for questions? Good. Well, thank you everyone. Merci beaucoup. And that concludes our event.